Hello, beautiful and handsome world changers. Welcome back to the Nomad CEO Podcast. Today I am riding solo and I'm going to talk about the most powerful week I have had so far in 2026. And it was between two drastically different experiences in Romania. And I would listen up to this. Number one, if you love the dream building of hearing about experiences of people traveling, because holla at your girl, you know that I do. But number two, if you want to learn about some of the lessons that I've taken away and insights I have gained from one of the most fastest growing movements of leaders that are up and coming, that are well established in Romania, an ex-communist country, as well as one of, in my opinion, probably the most well-run orphanages anywhere in the world. I'm going to talk about that today in this episode. So, first things first, I will share with you how these relationships, these opportunities came to be. And really the heart of the matter, the root of the lesson is the power of association. Get around people and ask people if you can get around who they know. Because the first opportunity was with an organization called Future Romania. And the reason why I ever got in that room is because of my amazing uncle. He's the very first interview on this podcast, Steve Jarding. He is one of the keynote speakers in this movement at many of the sessions that they have. So I've known about this for a while of him going to Romania. And when this opportunity came up for him to be a keynote in these conferences, he didn't, with all due love, Steve, next time you can formally invite me. But he didn't mention, hey, you should come. I said, hey, can I come? That sounds amazing and very aligned with what I'm doing, with what I'm building, with who I want to know. And so I put myself out there, right? And normally I'm not that kind of gal. Like if I have friends that are gonna go hang out and do something or whatever, like I like to be invited. I don't like to just like latch on and be the leech, you know? But when it comes to potential opportunities, like your girl is going to knock on that door. And I would just encourage you, if you aren't that way, to consider what would it look like if you tried it. And so that opened the door. I literally flew to a different country just to get to something I didn't really know much about, quite frankly. Love you, Steve, if you ever listen to this. He was like, it's a conference and there's some really cool people there. And what Sebastian Burduja is doing is awesome. It's pretty much what I know. And I was like, okay, so where's it going to be? How long is it going to be? Like, what's the whole premise? Blah, blah, blah. Didn't really know. And I will tell you, when I got there, I didn't have much expectation, but I would say even if I had an expectation, it would have been blown. Because first off, the setting, that was my first experience where Steve stayed. I was at an Airbnb in a different part of the town in Iași, Romania. It's in the northeast near Moldova. And I show up at his hotel and I'm like, first off, this is what's up. This is nice. And his hotel was right near a really beautiful part of the town that is essentially this mall and this like event center slash, all the restaurants, all the things right next to this place called the Palace of Culture, which is a beautiful building. It is massive. It is literally massive. I'm like, wow, I can't stop looking at it. You like anywhere you look, the building's there because it's so big, It's crazy. And so this conference was in this like the top of this mall that overlooked the Palace of Culture. And it was just, first off, nuts type setting. So I was like, okay, this really set the stage. And then I go in and start meeting people, and there's these very well-dressed, young to maybe say older, seasoned professionals. So from my understanding, they pick 100 people, they're vetted, they go through a vetting process to be in that room. And there's 50 out of the 100 that are under the age of either 32 or 35, something like that. And then the other 50 are over that age. And these are professionals, whether they're in politics or they're in leadership or they're entrepreneurs, like these are go-getters. These are people that want to make change in the world around them and are actively doing it. And so just the energy of it was like, people are here to like learn. People are here to grow, they're here to network, they're here to move forward. And I don't know if you picked that up from my vibes, but like I got that in me too. So just being there was incredible. And what's so beautiful too is that the first night, it was on a Friday night, in this beautiful ballroom. Go check out my Instagram if you want to see that. Steve and I think we're the only Americans there. And I think the only ones that didn't speak Romanian. But it didn't matter because the energy. Man, the energy. And they had these slides. So everyone was like introducing themselves and Steve spoke and others spoke in, Romanian. But they also shared some slides of different images that made more sense to me. I was like, oh, this is the kind of stuff that we talk about in the States, right? Or at least like from what the image can portray. And so it was just resonating, right? It was resonating, just the whole essence of the experience so far. And then they put on a QR code on the screen and you scan it if you want to join a WhatsApp group with everybody there. Now, I'm not Romanian. I didn't go through process to get into this room. I'm not part of, what everyone else is doing that qualified to get there, mind you. But I just decide, you know what? Your girl's just gonna pull out her phone and go, I don't know if I should be doing this, but I'm gonna do it. And I click, I joined the group and I was like, sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission. But I didn't want to be disrespectful, mind you. I really genuinely was like, I don't fully understand everything that's going on at this point, but so I don't want to do anything disrespectful at all. I didn't get the sense though that would have been, because my impression of Sebastian Burduja was shout out Sebastian if you ever listen to this, like, you the man, okay? Like, I cannot say enough great things about you. The amazing, incredible leader that you are and what you've done for your country is a mind blow. And yet, like, if someone didn't know your resume and your accomplishments, like, they would just think you're a normal, cheery, happy, go lucky kind of guy. Like, you just make everyone feel at home. And I'm so grateful, for that. Speaking to him right now. So, but that's something about this man, right? And I think is a testament to some of the best leaders is that they don't lord over their title over people. Like, they also know, hey, I'm a person too, and I just have a big goal and dream that I'm willing to go after, and I'm looking to take people with me. And so, anyways, I joined that group. But part of why I share this part of the story is because I go on there and everybody's like talking Romanian, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening? I don't even know. But I just felt so full of gratitude. I was like, when you're in a room and I'm like, does everyone know that I don't belong? Like, who's this chick up front? You know what I mean? And so I was like, let me just call it out, right? And I said something of like, I'm just so grateful to be here. And even though I don't speak Romanian, I can feel the energy. And so many people liked it. And that I'm actually really grateful that happened. I wasn't intending for this to happen, but I'm like, thank you that it did. From that point on, the rest of the weekend, people were like, this chick doesn't belong, not belong here, but she's not from here. And so people would come up to me, and I met some of the most incredible people, truly. And also discovered that I've been using Google Translate like a dang rookie. Okay. Like, rookie. I didn't know you can hit live translate and it just keeps on pumping through. I've just been playing the game wrong, You can travel a lot. You can do something for a long time and still not know the best way to do it. Okay. I'm saying that right now. So anyways, I had that hack of Google Translate the rest of the weekend, so I could just hit boop on my phone, and it in real time translated Romanian to English. And it does pretty well. It's actually kind of funny. Some of the words, I was like, I don't think that's what they said. I really don't think that's what they said. But for the most part, the essence of the messages would get across. And I got emotional like multiple times. It was so good. They spoke on leadership and values. And what's so incredible about Romania as a country, and I'm going to segue into some lessons here soon, is where they've come from and being a communist country only 35 years ago. Like, that's like a long time ago, but also not that long ago, where there's still many people alive that grew up in the communist era and that shaped how they, like, if you're from the States and you're like, man, my childhood really impacted me. And don't get me wrong, that was me too. I get it. We all have that. But man, there are different places in the world that grew up quite differently, and we have a lot to be grateful for. You know what I'm saying? Like, wild kind of stuff that I have been learning more about, just being there and spending 5 weeks traveling and talking to different people and still learning. I don't obviously know everything at all, but it's just fascinating to, know where someone comes from and where a culture comes from. And so, coming from that era, a lot of people, from my understanding, is that it's the second leading country of immigrants. So people leaving their home country to go live elsewhere in the world. A second to, gosh, don't quote me. I think it's Syria. I think that's it. Yeah. So kind of wild, like so many Romanians leaving different parts of the world, and kudos to them, going for opportunity, whatever they might be. But then you look at so I can see both sides. Like, I'm the girl, I can always see both sides, and I'm just like outsider, looking and observing. So I can totally get why someone would do that. I mean, I'm doing that, I don't live in the States anymore. I visit there often enough, but to also from a nation's perspective to say, we want our people to be back home and we want to build, right? And we want to continue to move our country forward from, where it's come from, and continue to widen that gap and, do right by our people and create opportunity for them. And so it was really fascinating. But anyways, I'm still jazzed in the experience. And a little plug, I'm in France right now, in the south of France, and I came here because I've been to France before, But I've only been to Paris, and I came to Paris a week ago to another Future Romania conference. So I'm basically Romanian now. No, I'm just kidding. But it was so cool. The first night was at the Embassy of Romania in Paris, and the Eiffel Tower is like, a couple blocks away. And I'm like, what is my life? This is crazy. This is crazy. It was beautiful. And got around some more cool people, saw some familiar faces, deepened more relationships. They had a guy from Serbia. That's where I was like thinking Serbia. Come and talk. Another guy from Croatia. Like crazy stuff. Okay, team crazy. So cool. So, anyways, some lessons. Okay, I just want to map out that experience. So you kind of got a feel. Some lessons that I've taken away. So many, but here's a few. There is tremendous power when you have a leader that's not only a visionary, but has the mindset and the skill set to organize a movement. When you have one leader that sees before others sees and are willing to go before others go, and willing as they go to also say, hey, this is where I'm headed. This is what I envision for the future of Romania. And to link arms with other like-minded, like-hearted dreamer doers and difference makers and charge the hill. It's crazy what you can get done in such a short period of time. Now, I'm still learning about this whole experience. So if anyone that either you're leading Future Romania or you've attended and and I'm misspeaking, please correct me and I will go back and make this right. From what I know, they started in November. They've done some things in the past. So there's some groundwork that was laid. But they started Future Romania, like the initiative, in November. And since then, it's March, okay? They've done this in 3 different Romanian cities where they gathered 100 people that went through a vetting process. They posted on social media. They do a little bit of marketing dollars, but mainly social media, word of mouth. And people are vetted. They fill out a form. They do an interview. They do all this stuff. They get some ridiculously cool places that they actually host the events at. Bring in all these different speakers from around the world to talk about leadership. And everyone's like fired up. Like they have standards, they're set. Like people aren't late. People are there. They're hungry. They're willing to learn. Like that is a mind blow. That is a mind blow. And I say 3 cities because those were the initial. They've also done like a mini reunion already. And so they're working on projects to implement into society. So they're taking action on the change and not just talking about it. So they had a reconnection session, if you will, that I believe 150 or so people were at from those first 3 events. So it's just not, it's nuts, y'all. It's crazy. It's really, really cool. Actually, no, it was 3 in Romania and then 1 in Paris. I don't even know, I can't keep track now. Like that's how fast they're moving. It's kind of wild. So something else I want to talk about, another lesson, if you will, or insight rather, is probably a better way to say it, that I've never really thought about before in my travels is that a country is like a business. Let me explain. I talked about how, so Romanians leaving Romania as an example, and there's many countries all over the world that they leave their home country. And for some, it's actually probably a really safe thing to do, depending on the season, what's going on. But what's crazy is that one of the lunches while we're at the conference, the first one I was at in Romania, is another room that I was like, how did I get in here? This is cool. I don't even know. But it was a lunch where my Uncle Steve and the other speakers and Sebastian and some other awesome people were invited to this really fancy room. And we had lunch. And this gal who is Raluca, who's so sweet, she did a presentation. And now again, it's in Romanian, so I had a little Google Translate. But she also shared a lot of pictures, which was really helpful because it was like, okay, I'm kind of putting the pieces together. But it was fascinating because she would show pictures before and after. The before was on different places in Romania. Of what I came to find was a gentleman that had gone to the States and was inspired by shoe stores, started shoe store chains in Romania, and then was visiting more malls in the US and then realized, hey, I want to make a whole shopping mall, not just shoes. And over the years, like this another one man's vision took that concept and just spread it all through Romania. And it's so crazy because bringing something like this massive, beautiful mall, event center, gathering place that is just gorgeous that people want to go spend their time at, spend their money at, can do a lot for an economy. It can do a lot for a city, a lot for a country. And so to see like the before and after pictures of like just desolate, like kind of barren place to now this glorious, amazing, beautiful spot that everyone wants to go to was another like aha for me of them talking about, yeah, we want to create jobs here and incentives for people to come work here and all these things. Like that's what businesses do. I want to create incentives for people to come, right? But what's also cool is that they're talking about we want people to come back to Romania, right? And this is what I've learned and observed about many Romanians is many of them over time, they do want to come back. And even Sebastian himself, he had left to the States for a number of years and ended up coming back as part of that vision. And I'll say that about me. Even though I'm not in the US right now, I would love to spend, probably most of my life there. I'm very grateful to be from where I'm from. And so I think a lot of people feel that about their home country. I'm being very general here, no, not everyone, but it was just fascinating to start to think about that. I've thought of countries having a business angle when it comes to tourism, but I didn't think of it necessarily in the sense of the actual locals, right? Of people from this country. How can we make this deal, so to speak, so sweet for them to want to come back? And that meeting was just an example of how they're doing that. So really powerful. And I say lesson because actually I think, let's see, I have a list here. The rest of these are more so reminders and layered learning, as I like to call it. And I call it that because I stole that from someone else at some point. But it was just a reminder on the universal desire for impact. That, again, regardless of language, regardless of culture, regardless of politics, even, because if people are in politics, at least what I've observed, they typically do that with the heart of wanting to make meaningful change from how they see it. And I will say sometimes how they want to make it and how we may see it, we do not agree on, okay? But just, I'm being general here. I think at the heart of it, people do want to make a change. That's just my opinion. You can take it or leave it. And I'm not saying how they do it is approval, we should approve of all the time. But I do believe that, we all want to make a desire for impact. And it's really cool when you're in a room of people that aren't from where you're from to experience what that means for them, what that looks like for them, because there's actually a lot of similarities, even though we may speak a different language. And another thing that was just a good reminder is just the power of association and networking and meeting people. And I would just say for those listening, if you're not actively doing this on a consistent basis, and the frequency of that consistency can obviously totally depend on your life. What is doable for you with all the other hats that you're wearing? Maybe you're a parent, maybe you have a business full time, what job full time, whatever that is. I still stand by the fact that to some frequency in your life, whether it's once a quarter, once a month, once a week, once a year, to get around rooms that raise you up. Like, especially around rooms that you're not the smartest person in. I don't want to be in those rooms. And actually, I don't know if those rooms really exist. No, I'm just kidding. Kind of. But truly getting around other people in rooms that raise you up, I've done it for years. I've done it for years, and it still blows my mind on how powerful it is and impactful it is. And I think the more that we regularly schedule that, we can it's like a leaping pad in our life, right? That I think of the conferences that I've been to, especially leadership, personal development driven, and I think back on a lot of major decisions that I've made in my life came in those rooms. Came from being around the energy and the excitement and the passion of people doing more and being more and having more in their life and serving more. It just does something to you in the human spirit that I don't think you can replicate unless you're in those rooms. So really, really powerful. Another thing too is just in those networking is, and if you're a business owner, you're a leader, or you're just someone that values relationships in your life, friendships, gosh darn it, there is so much power in nurturing relationships. And I'm not meaning nurturing the sense of I'm only going to keep talking to you because, X number of time, years, months, weeks, whatever down the road, I'm going to do X, Y, or Z. I'm going to pitch you my thing or get you into what I'm doing or whatever. I'm not saying that. I'm saying keeping your heart right in the sense of I don't actually know where this may go. I'm not trying to control what this other person decides to do or don't do. Rather, I see value in who they are and nurturing a relationship purely for the sake of nurturing it, knowing that it very much so could lead to something down the road. It very much so could lead to business or whatever. But just for the sake that it's worth it. This is my opinion, that it's worth it. People are worth it alone in and of themselves to add value to and to stay in contact with and to actually genuinely care about. So if you're in sales, if you're in business and you have that heart of okay, I'm just going to love people. I'm going to love people and I'm going to do right by people and I'm going to treat them how I want to be treated. Golden rule, baby. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it that way. My opinion is that you will blow past over time the other people that are not seeing people as people, but as numbers or as profit or as a means to an end for your own ambition. Now, I'm also speaking from a place when I started in my first business that this wasn't my heart, but I did kind of get my mind twisted that way a little bit, where I started to see people as numbers and I started to be more mechanical and I started to just think about my goals and how they would help me hit my goals. I certainly had that time, okay? And through being humbled and reminded that that's actually not me, that's never been me, and somehow along the way I picked up that mindset, I can let that go, right? Just as much as I picked it up, I can release it. So if that's you, just, just a little encouragement to consider that. So, man, there's so many other things, and I'm so pumped to just stay connected to this movement and the leaders there and the people I've met. And I'm cheering you on, just so you all know. And I will also say one last note is, Sebastian Burduja is, in the political sphere in Romania. And I'm still learning about what that all looks like. So in all of this, I'm not like promoting anything or saying this is how you should think politically or anything like that, because I'm just not, that's not me. I'm not that person. But what I will say that I really appreciate is value on leadership and the heart to make a difference in Romania, and what I've met from everyone going, that's involved, right? So as I'm still learning and growing, I will just stand. And this is the thing. This is a lot of just what I stand by in general is like, let's just say, I don't believe this to be the case, but let's just say it gets to a place that I'm learning. I'm like, oh, okay, what they're doing politically, I may not fully be aligned with. I would still be in support and cheer on this movement because of all the other amazing benefits that they're giving to people that I am seeing, that I have experienced. And whether or not I fully agree with everything, say, politically, to me, like they're not like, doing harmful things. Right? Like their hearts are right. They're doing what they see as best. And I say this because I'm always thinking about how can I articulate how I feel in my heart about these kinds of conversations that can be divisive with people, and continue to see the common ground that we stand on and love people regardless. And so I just say that as an example, right? Of like for example, like I have friends that we believe different things spiritually. I have friends that we think different things politically. I have friends that we believe different things. I have family that we believe different things on that. I mean, financially, how we spend our money. Like, yeah, there's a lot of people that I'm close to that we have kind of a lot of differences on these certain things, but it doesn't mean that I don't love them. It doesn't mean that I don't value them or that I am going to disown them or judge them. It just means that we're different. And to me, it's a better world when we can seek to understand and accept, as long as it's not harmful, right? Like, accept people for who they are. I'll add this, okay? This is along the lines of what I'm talking about here from a global perspective, but it's a little bit of a personal story, okay? But I was having a conversation with my mom a couple nights ago, and she said something that is just a testament to our growth in our relationship and my own growth, okay? She said, "Thank you for letting me just be me." And man, that I'm sad to say has taken me a long time to get there. And I love my mom. Mom, I love you. I cherish you. But it did. Like, her and I are such different people, and the lifestyle that we both love to lead is very, very different. And for the longest time, I just, for whatever reason, immaturity was at the heart of it, but didn't want to hear her opinion on things. And I didn't realize that that was like a rejection of her identity per se. I don't know. I can unpack that probably a lot deeper, but I just say that because, man, my mom's like one of the closest relationships in my life, and to get to a place where she feels that I accept her, because I do, I really do. I really do. And we both worked hard at getting to that place. And I accept her knowing that we don't agree on everything still. And that's okay. Like, we don't have to. We're different people. Okay. We're different people. But I think that that's just an example of what I'm trying to say here is, and not just with Future Romania, but just generally in the grand scheme of things. So anyways, there's that. We're moving along, team. We're moving along to part 2 of this amazing week, this crazy, cool, impactful week. So before we jump in, quick note. If you're enjoying the conversations we have here on Nomad CEO, you will love our World Changers weekly newsletter. This is where we share everything that doesn't always make it to the mic. behind the scenes on our masterminds, challenges, global retreats, and the movements we're supporting around the world. Plus, every Monday, we send out simple mindset and body tips that you can put into action immediately. If you want to change your world just a little more every single week, you can sign up for free at worldchangers.me/signup. That is worldchangers.me/signup. All right, let's get into today's episode. Another cool door. So I knew I was going to be in Romania. I was like, sweet deal. Kind of a cool serendipitous conversation. I don't even know, did I post something and then she reached out, or was it when I ran into her? So my good friend, Viorica Wakelam, shout out to you, girlfriend. She's Romanian. And however it came to be, of social media or in person, I don't know. We're having a conversation. She's like, oh, I went to an orphanage in Oradea, Romania, and we volunteered there. We served there, and it was amazing. And I was like, wow, girl, tell me about it. Like, I'm trying to get connected. Like, let's go. I love that. And she told me the name, Caminul Felix, and I just hopped on good old Google right away, saw the website, and reached out. I sent him an email. And I kid you not, you guys, I don't even, this might sound bad, but I was like, how cool, love it, moving Mach 5, it's out there. And it was kind of off my brain a little bit. And normally in those situations, it's like, a few days, a week, maybe never that I'll hear back. But it was like right away. I was blown away. And not only right away did I hear back, but right away now is connected to so many other people. And what I've come to find is an organization called Assist International, actually assists Caminul Felix, and they connected me to them. And Caminul Felix is this whole incredible operation of just the most amazing people ever. And so from that one thing that Viorica said, I reached out to, it's like this whole thing opened. Well, fast forward, I connect with them. I go from Iași, Romania, which is in the northeast, and I think that train was supposed to be like 7 hours. I don't know. I left a Monday afternoon, somewhat early, if I remember right. And I got in at oh no, it was overnight. I think that was the 14-hour train. I don't know. Your girl took a lot of trains, okay? And yeah, I think that was a 14-hour one because I didn't really sleep much. So I think I got in at 6 a.m. on a Tuesday. And Razvan, shout out, picked me up from the airport and take me back to their location. They have 2 sites, into this honestly really beautiful guest house. And post up there, and I'd already had plans to do some work, and I'd communicated that ahead of time. I was like, I want to come and visit. I want to understand how you guys operate, what your resources are, what you need, because with what we do in World Changers as we grow, especially, is we have programs that we can, serve people with, to join virtually. And then we also give 10% to causes around the world. So that's really important. And we have a really good relationship with Laloma Home in Fiji, where we went to in September of last year. And so my vision is to have, over the next year or two, a couple or at least one impact partner like that on each continent outside of Antarctica. Okay, maybe that might come to be. If you know of anyone, let me know. But that we can have, kind of a global map and then continue to grow from there. And again, they can plug into our programs. We can lead retreats there, all the things. So yeah, I didn't really know much going in of what it was going to look like in my time, but they were just so accommodating. We made a plan, with food, and I had meals with some of the families. So let me give a little more context to their setup. So they started in May of 1992. Which is the month before I was born, okay? So we're about the same age, and the Caminul Felix. So it was founded then in 1992, and their first location has 6 homes. And I believe it was built by the Swedish, and so it has that kind of Swedish vibe. And it's just beautiful, this quaint little community. They have homes that go around this, little roundabout, if you will, and then a playground in the middle. They have a soccer field in the back and basketball court, and it's a really fun, homey energy. It was just really, really cool. And then the second location they built roughly 8 or so years later, I want to say, has 10 homes, and Americans came in and built these homes. And this was a much bigger area of land. Same idea, in a big circle drive, and then in the middle they had a soccer field. And so it was just a really beautiful layout. And in the second location, they also have a farm where they have cows, and they actually sell milk from the cows to companies or people in the city. And from my understanding, that generates 15% of what helps them pay their bills. So, just the basic bills of living in a home, right? But obviously running a whole operation. And so they have 16 homes total. When I was there, just oh gosh, a month ago, they had 12 of the homes filled. And in each home is a couple, a married couple, and they don't necessarily have to have their own kids, but all of them there do. And so they have their own biological children, and they raise their own biological children alongside other children that are not their own biologically. And the one of the first home that I visited was with John and Aura. And Aura, I did an episode with her, so go listen to that. Her and I hit it off right away. I was like, girl, she's like, I've been working out. And I'm like, oh, let's talk. You know, it was good. It was really good. So, but going there, they have their, like, for example, they have their own three kids. And I won't dive into all that because you got to listen to her share her story. But yeah, just raising seven or eight other kids in their home. And, you know, these kids just have some of the like heart-wrenching stories, you know, parents may get into drugs or commit suicide or just kind of rough things, right? And the kids can come in at really any age from basically a newborn to a teen. And what I thought was actually really beautiful in the sense of having someone that's still like your family is there's different kids that had their siblings with them. So there'd be pairs or you know, three, four, five kids even that came from the same parents or same family. And but what was so beautiful, so this is what I want to share on just what I've learned in my experience here, because I've been to different orphanages in different parts of the world and different volunteer with different organizations that work with vulnerable people and vulnerable youth. So Mexico, South Africa, Kenya, Fiji. Oh gosh, I gotta think more. But so I've had different experiences, right? And what was so cool about Romania is I feel like so there's something called red line versus green line work. And my friend Caleb Strauss reminded me of this recently. The red line work is basically like food, clothing, shelter. What do you need to survive, right? And am I giving to help with that? And don't get me wrong, Caminul Felix can definitely benefit from donations of people that just help them operate, right? Like with the war going on nearby and expenses like power have gone through the roof. So they can definitely benefit from financial support for those basic needs. So I don't want to express this like they couldn't benefit from that. And that's something that they share and they do a lot to try and continue to have support. So the essentials. And then there's green line work, which is more the development of the human. Like it's more of the enrichment of life where you're playing games with them or you know, teach them things or you just spend time together, right? It's not necessarily like just providing food as it is connecting and bonding and having a sense of belonging and love. And I think of it like you're moving up Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I think it can be easy to jump to the fact when you're like, let's just say you're from the States or from a first world country, if I may use that term, that doesn't maybe see that all the time, which every country can have poverty, no question about it. Like, let's be real. But, you know, to think like, oh, I just want my money to go there, or I just want to go spend time there. And don't get me wrong, do what you got to do wherever you're called to go. Like, I get it. There's also just so much power in spending time, sending money to places you trust, because that's a huge thing, for the green line type work, for opportunities, for in this situation for kids. And like when I was there, I feel like I got way more than I even gave, you know, when I was visiting. I say I was visiting, not necessarily volunteering, because I didn't come to like build a home or I was just coming like I'm still working. I still have a lot to do like in my business. So I wish I was at a point that I could just take, you know, 5, 6, 7 days off and, you know, just do everything that I could do to help. But I would take as many hours as I could to just understand what was going on in the future to be able to do that. But in the time I did have, like we would play soccer and we played games and they invited me over for dinner so to eat with their family. And, you know, that's still important work. And I think just understanding that of like not ever underestimating the power of quality time with people. And especially in this experience with children that, you know, have some pretty crazy stories. And even the biological children, like they still make sacrifice of sharing their parents with other kids. And, you know, I mean, think back to when you're a kid, right? Like imagine, and maybe you've had this situation where you grew up with foster kids or adopted children in your home, or maybe you grew up in an orphanage. You know, there's just different levels of I don't know if sacrifice is the right word, but you know, adjustments that will need to be made in order to serve the greater good. But that was a really good reminder of like it's not always just about the essentials, it's also about enrichment. And that's how I would say, you know, if there's anything I could do while I was there. But another thing too I want to talk about is that was really cool that I learned about Caminul Felix is they actually, coming from a communist era of like in the communist era, orphanages, from my understanding, were like, you know, I think they're like out of the city. You put a bunch of kids or just, gosh, in like a big building and they just like tend to their essential needs. That was pretty much it. Versus Caminul Felix, you go into a home. So you have a mom and dad, right? They may not be biological, but you have someone that you can call mom and dad. And there's a beautiful couple there that were there, have been there since the beginning. So their biological children have grown and have their own homes now. But I was talking to the father, and he was talking about it's so powerful when you have a child that when they're at school and they don't have their own biological parents anymore for one reason or another, that they can still say, "Oh, friend, you're going to go do that and you need to ask your mom. I'm going to go ask mine." Right? Oh, I have, this report card I'm going to take home to my parents. Oh, I am too, because I have someone that I can call mom and dad. And when you're at home, to be able to say, "Hey, these are my clothes. This is my toothbrush. This is my bed. These are my things." That is so powerful for a young child's psyche, for a sense of identity, for molding, the next generation. Like I was just hit even deeper like that. Those things can't be overstated. Like that, there's so much value in providing those things. And I just never, didn't really think of it that way. And, it's just really beautiful within this specific couple's circumstance to be there for, 34 years. And, they've had so many children come through that home that they've raised that have not been their own. I mean, what a beautiful thing, Yeah, so anyway, so this model style of raising these children was a great example for the Romanian government of, oh, this approach and how, like, the results that you're getting with these kids of, some of them are going off and doing things that you may not ever dream, right? Of what they're doing in the world, know if you knew where they came from. But I think that's just the power of the family unit and the power of love and the power of having the resources to raise up the next generation. So that was really cool. That was really cool. Gosh, so many things. Okay, I have to share. This got me real emotional when I was there, but I had an experience that I just want to share because it's just one of those things too that maybe you relate with how you grew up. And maybe not because you've had the same experience as this young boy that I'll talk about, but that piece of you can relate because of maybe a different experience that you've had, like the emotions of it. So I was playing soccer with these kids, and there's a bunch of kids there. I didn't have a chance to meet every family or every kid. I met a few of them, which is so great. So we were playing soccer, and there's other kids there that I don't know if they were part of Caminul Felix or if they were friends of the kids. Okay. And I don't know who was, say, a biological child or who wasn't. So I am just going with the impression that these were friends of the children that didn't actually live in Caminul Felix that we were playing soccer with. Now, to bring some lightheartedness to this, I had my Google Translate out and they were like waiting for me for 10 minutes to start and I did not know what they're saying. So I had to take it out and learn. Anyways, back to the story. So we were playing soccer and this young boy who I just felt connected to. I was like, man, like this little boy has a big heart. Like I feel with him. And you could just tell like he was shorter. These other kids were older and taller and bigger. And he was just trying so hard. Like, first off, I just am like, you go, dude, like what a guy. And they were kind of rough, as boys will be. Not in like a bad way, but at some point, I don't even remember exactly what happened. I don't know if I fully saw it, but I did see the part where they started getting a little aggressive and like pushing each other. Not like a fight, okay, but just like little rough housing. And in that process, the tall older boy had just kept chanting to this young boy that, saying the word orphan. And I was just like, oh my gosh, and you could just see him just shut down. Like, it's like all the excitement to play soccer just left his body and he was just sunken. And I, I don't speak Romanian. So I was just like, oh man, if I could just like have a moment of lesson with this kid, of like, what are you saying? Like, do you know? And then I got thinking like, I don't know if this happens all the time. I have no idea if he hears this often. I don't know if this is the first time you've heard it. I don't know if it'll be the last time, but like in this setting to just be spoken over this, identity that is nothing that he did wrong, nothing that he can control. And he went off the field, and I was like, I can't play this anymore. And I pulled out my Google Translate and I just said, some words to him just to try and cheer him up. And yeah, it was just, anyway. So long story short, I went back to that family's home, played some games with them, and they're so fun. We played some awesome games. I was like, I'm really into this. You guys are competitive and I like it. We played hide and seek, we played some card games. Actually, the first game I played with his family was Twister. Like, I'm not joking. I walked in the door and like within 2 minutes, your girl was like butt up in the air, hands sprawled, like, how did I get here? Like, so funny. It was really fun. Anyways, but I say all of that because when I was walking home that night, I just started bawling. Like thinking about this little boy and thinking about, I don't know where he came from. I don't know what he's seen. I don't know what's gonna make a mark on him for life, right? And or what he's gonna have to work through. And, we all have obstacles. I get that we can't stop a child from experiencing hardship or adversity. It can really truly mold our character. It was just one of those moments where I I just part of my bigger mission is like how can people just know that they're loved? Like how can we just lead with love in the world, right? So, anyways, I'm kind of condensing some of the story, and then you probably had to be there too to a degree, but it was just so sad. So another experience that I had when I was in Aradia, and this is another beautiful takeaway, if you will, is we would go to something they call the gypsy communities. We went a couple of times. And in these communities, as I was driving through, Aura, who led me there, was talking about, like, pointed out to homes that were bought with, trafficking money and dirty money. And it was just pretty run down where they're at. And, it's just kind of crazy to be there, right? And then we went to this other home in the gypsy community. And I don't know, there was like several adults, a lot of kids there. And you could just, I mean, one little kid, for example, like, I don't know if he's showered in a week. Like he was so dirty and he was like, he had a little dried blood on his hand and, just his face just needed to be wiped down. And just seeing how they live was just like, this is their normal. This is their normal. This is their everyday. This is life for them. And unless they have opportunity and a drive to get out of the situation, this will be for like their life. Like it just humbles you, And but something that's so beautiful at Caminul Felix, some of these kids come from that community, and unfortunately, some of them go back despite, the opportunities that they have. Everyone has their own free will. But these families, not all of them, but some of them, from my understanding, for sure, some of them will go and serve those communities. They'll go take clothes, they'll go take food. So even in a situation where people from around the world are going to places like Caminul Felix to give and serve, still being there, taking what they have, they will still take that and give it to people less fortunate. Like, what a beautiful thing. What a beautiful thing. And it's just a testament, in my opinion, to the human spirit and how we're wired and what we're driven by. That even if you have so little, even if you feel like you've lost everything, even if you feel like you're in a spot that, man, what you've been working for hasn't happened and you're thinking of all the things you don't have, like there's still people that have less and we can go give to them. And quite frankly, that's, in my opinion, also far more fulfilling a lot of the time. So, yeah, just incredible. I could talk for hours more about these experiences, but hopefully you've taken something away. And if you have a heart to get around other leaders in different countries, or you have a heart to go serve, say, the less fortunate or those that, yeah, are in these situations abroad or in your own city, in your own town, then hopefully this inspired you to take that action. Hopefully you put it on your calendar if you haven't in a long time or haven't in a while, or it's not a regular thing that you do, to get around people that raise you up and get around people that you can help raise up. I believe that we have three different types of people in our lives: people ahead of us, people beside us, and people behind us. And I think the more that we intentionally live with rich experiences like these, life, I don't think it can get sweeter. So, anyways, my friends, much love. I know I've shaken around this table, and if you're watching on YouTube, you're like, are you okay? I've been rocking the boat. Okay, little reference. I've actually been meaning to do this of saying where I'm at when I'm recording, just because I travel all the time. I'm in a town called Agde, France. south of France, and it's a coastal town, and there's a marina nearby, and then a beach on the other side. It is so cute, and there is not a lot happening here, but I am so glad because I've been doing so much. I was in 7 cities in 30 days, which I've done before, but I haven't done that while working. So I was like intentionally traveling, backpacking, whatever, and doing that. But now working, running a business and building a mission and leading a team, it's like totally different ball game. And waking up in the middle of the night, a couple nights a week for some Zoom calls, like it's different, y'all. It is a different machine. So, anyways, I've been in here chilling like a villain, sleeping when I need to sleep, put my toes in the sand, getting the sea breeze in my hair. It's been fabulous. Okay. So, yeah, it's been a good go. Been a good go. All right. We're going to wrap it up here. Appreciate y'all. Much love. And until next time.